All right.
Hmm.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here this evening. We definitely appreciate you all being here for the college one-on-one workshop. Before I start with the presentation, see if Ms. Blostein wants to say anything.
Hello, everyone.
Introduce herself. I know we got some new parents, so I'm gonna introduce myself once Ms. Blostein go.
I am Miss Blaustein, Assistant Director for Upward Bound. Most of you know me. Glad you're here. I'm sure you'll learn a lot of things. Be ready for coming up for summer and senior year. It'll be exciting for you guys. And Dr. Curry is very organized, and we'll get you going with what you need to do.
All right. And so also, oh, Dr. Cabarrus on? Okay. No, oh, that's that's
He's
Miss
coming.
Blostein.
He's
Miss
coming.
Blostein is working
He's
Dr. Cabrera for us tonight. So we appreciate her so much for working behind the scenes to make sure that this meeting is going well. Also, I would like to introduce to some. We just recently hired a coordinator for the Upward Bound Math and Science program. Is one of our former Upward Bound students. She will be working with the senior class until we get an advisor for Upward Bound. She will be working with both senior class along with myself. So pretty much she'll be getting a training this summer. Me and her go do hand in hand, and then after this senior year, then she'll be floating by herself. So Miss Claudia, did you want to say anything to the class?
No, just my name is Claudia, and I'm excited to be working as the program coordinator.
All right. Thank you so much. And she definitely works behind the scenes a lot. She's pursuing her master's. I mean not yeah, her master's, and in the meantime she's been, helping behind the scenes with everything with both programs. So thank you so much, Miss Claudia, for all that you do. My name is Dr. Curry. I'm the assistant director of Upward Bound Math and Science. Currently I'm working with both programs, seniors, and we're going to talk about the college 101 workshop. Thank you. I feel special. So we're going to talk about things to prepare for your senior year and how the summer is going to look, how your senior year is expected to look. Some of the things that you need to know as far as terminology. So this is a very important meeting. All right. So make sure if your friends are not on, call or text them and tell them if they are 11th graders. Only 11th graders should be in this meeting, not nobody else but 11th graders. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start. Let me share my screen. Okay, Ms. Blaustein, I think you got to make the host because I don't have the share screen capability. Okay, she made me host now. Great. Thank you. All right. Okay. Everybody see that? Just want to make sure. Can somebody tell me they can see?
Yeah, it's good.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. So if you all could wait to the end to ask me any questions, because while I'm in this presentation mode, I cannot see any hands raised. So do me a favor, write down all your questions that you have, and then at the end, we're going to ask questions. And please, parents, make sure, and students, make sure you stay on for the questions because there may be questions that you have as well. Okay. All right, let's get going. So first of all, congratulations. You're coming up on your senior year. It's exciting times. It's also heartbreaking times because that means that we only have 1 year of you all being in the program. So we got 1 more year with you all, but we're going to make sure it's the best. All right. And so with that, we're going to talk about high school graduation requirements. Now, also make sure that you're turning in your report cards to Ms. Blostein. That's very super important for you, because that is what we do to help keep you on track. That's what we do to make sure that you're taking the number of rigorous courses you're supposed to be taking, that your grade point average is where it's needed to be in order to graduate. that you're not, lacking and you're coming up on your 12th grade year. So these are the things that you need to make sure that you have on your transcript. Parents, if your child has not done so yet, which I know is at the end towards the end, but they need to go to the guidance counselor ASAP. I would say at least, yeah, the end of this month, they need to go to their guidance counselor and ask for a printout of a permanent record worksheet. Also an unofficial transcript, but a permanent record worksheet is better. What a permanent record worksheet is like a screenshot of like all your classes, your grades, even the courses that you had in middle school that counted for high school classes, they're pretty much going to be on there because they're high school credits. So pretty much it'll give you a screenshot of all the classes you have taken, and then it'll also let you know in a box of did you pass your ELA? Did you pass your algebra, your geometry? So you'll know those things. It'll also let you know what you're missing. And that's the problem with, sometimes that we haven't had it. I think we probably had maybe two situations, but luckily we was able to catch it before graduation. Sometimes parents, when a student has a class, they may think it's for another class. They may think it counts for another subject, but on paper, in the guidance office, they may have it as something else. For instance, we had this student and she was in 11th grade, same situation like we're at now. And we told her to get a permanent record worksheet. Well, when she received it, she thought she was done with all her science courses. But they actually counted the one of the courses that she thought was for science for elective. So she literally had to go back and see, can they move this? Can this be counted for this? Unfortunately, she had to end up taking a science course during her 12th grade year because they were saying that there was no way to move that from the electives to the sciences. So that's why you have to make sure, and on that permanent record worksheet, it's going to let you know if you satisfy all your English, your math, your science, your social studies, and all the other requirements that's needed. Now, the only thing that's missing on here when it comes to your high school graduation requirements is your 2 years of foreign language. And we're going to talk about that on the next slide. All right. So this is the ideal of what you need to have when it comes to your coursework. All right. So make sure you take a picture of that, have that in your lodge in your mind. All right. So first thing first, please make sure that your GPA is above a 2.0. If it's at a 2.0, you really need to work to get it up. Of course, we want it to be higher. But once again, just make sure that you're working to get that GPA up. Most of the time when colleges are looking at a student, they're not looking at your district GPA. District GPA is always that high GPA. Usually, schools use that to based on your rank to rank you in your classes. So you may be valedictory, salutatory. That's what they utilize that district GPA for. Now, when it comes to the state GPA, now the state GPA is a GPA that is the lower one. I always call it the lower one. I think it's the weighted. District is unweighted, and I think, district I think is unweighted, and then state is weighted. So it's the lower GPA. That GPA, especially to get into a good college, you want that GPA to at least be at like a 2.8, a 2.8. The requirements for college is, getting very competitive. So, once again, I'd be remiss if I tell you that anything lower. We still gonna get you into college, but just try to strive to get at least a 2.8 with your state GPA. If you can't, get it to that, at least just make sure that you keep going up on your district. The higher you go up on your district, the more that needle will move a little bit more on your state GPA. All right. Now, for you got to make sure that you have passed your English, your ELA. You got to make sure that you have passed all those courses because that would be the main thing that you would need to focus on when you get back to school during your 12th grade year. you would need to make sure that you have taken all these courses. Now, you can't ask them, let's say if you didn't pass your ELA or your algebra, EOC, or your biology, geometry, or US history, because these are the courses that you have to pass. So let's say, for instance, that you didn't. You need to go to your guidance counselor, ask them if you got your SAT results, ask them, could your SAT results replace those grades? I mean, those, for your exams if you didn't pass. So let's say, for instance, if you took Algebra 1, and we're going to talk about it even more, but let's say that if you didn't pass your Algebra EOC, but you took the SAT and you scored like a high score that could possibly, exempt you from retaking the EOC. You won't know that until you talk to your guidance counselor. Your guidance counselor are the only ones that can see if your SAT score, or when you take the ACT, your ACT score could suffice for that. If not, then you need to ask them when can they reschedule for you to take the exam. If you could take it before then, that's great. But I do not want you all to be in your 12th grade year and be stressed out because you have these courses to take. All right. Also, if you have an IEP, make sure that your school, your teachers are utilizing it. I have, definitely heard, whereas sometimes the teachers don't give that student that extra time on tests, or when you go and take the SAT, you're not giving that much time. Make sure that anytime you sign up for any exam, or you have any exams in class or anything like that, that you're making them aware of your IEP, so that you could get the time that's needed, so that you could do great on any exam or any test that you have. um Although foreign language is not so, I want to say a couple of years back, maybe 4 years, 3 or 4 years, they eliminated the requirement for foreign language to graduate from high school. So you don't know, you no longer need foreign language for high school graduation. However, you do need 2 years of foreign language for college. It doesn't matter what college you're going to. It doesn't matter if you saying, hey, I want to do community first. Make sure your phones are stayed on mute, please. But it doesn't matter what college you decide to go to. You have to make sure that you take foreign language. By being a part of Up by Math Science, even CROP, you have to make sure that part of being in a college preparatory program is that you're geared for college. That's the ultimate goal, whether it's community college or a 4-year college. That's the goal. So with that goal, all our students have to take 2 years of foreign language. So keep in mind that those 2 years got to be in the same language. For example, Spanish 1, Spanish 2. You can't take Spanish 1 and French 1. That they're not going to count that together. So Spanish 1, Spanish 2, French 1, French 2, sign language 1, sign language 2, or sign language 3, sign language 4. However it may, but you need to show 2 years of it. If you have not taken a foreign language, then you need to talk to your guidance counselor to see if it's possible to take maybe Spanish over the summer. We do have Miss Luna that can help you with, Spanish, or see if you can, possibly take it. If you haven't taken the second year, see if you could take it this summer as well. Because I can tell you this, if you do not take your foreign language, that's going to ruin your chances of getting into a lot of universities. Also, too, let's say that you're taking your foreign language, like your second foreign language, during your senior year. Some colleges, and they did it this year as well, some colleges will put a hold on a decision until you get that report card in January to show what is your grade in that course. So they want to make sure that that GPA like calculates. So that's why they ask for your report card in January versus after the first 9 weeks, because they want to see your progress of how you're doing in that second, foreign language class. And that's going to determine if they're going to accept you in their course. So once again, I'm going to help you. Me and Miss Claudia is going to help you through this process, but we need to make sure that you're doing your part as well. So this would be your goal of making sure when it comes to your high school graduation requirements that you're on target to graduate. If you're not, don't stress it. Let's just figure out what is needed in order to get you to graduation and on to college. All right. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. So when it comes to the ELA and you didn't pass, it's okay. There's different ways that you could pass that test. So let's say if you didn't pass it, if you take the ACT and you get an 18, then that could, super score that. I mean, not super score that, but take the place of that. SAT of 490, and also the CLT, which we'll talk about more, is a 39. Now, before you take these exams, any of these exams, you have to ask your guidance counselor for permission first. Because you can't just go in and say, oh, I took the SAT or I took the ACT and I want you to swipe out, because I didn't pass the ELA, so I want you to swipe it out. Like, that's not how it works, okay? So once again, you got to ask them, set it up so that you could go ahead and take it, all right? Okay, algebra one, the same thing. So it's more options though. Even with like geometry. So let's say that you took geometry and you passed it, you had a level 3, then that could, count for like both in a sense. With CLT, the quantitative side, you got to have 11, ACT math 16, SAT math 420, PSAT 430. So once again, you got plenty of options to do that. Now, the SAT and the ACT are required test exams that colleges are recommending for students to do in order to get into their course. Now, it may be where, like back in COVID time, after COVID, then they want to set the SAT, ACT, but this, my friends, have came back into position. So definitely, majority of colleges and universities are asking for the SAT and or the ACT. So you could choose either one. What we typically do is like when it's coming up on the 25th, this Saturday, what we'll do is we'll have some ACT waivers on hand. And if any students want to sign up, any juniors want to sign up for the ACT, then you could do so at that time. Now, what we typically do is we have the students, 11th graders, to take the SAT at school, which Ms. Blaustein gave you a pre-test prior to you taking the test at school. And so you took that test actually counts, okay? That SAT test. But you still have 2 waivers available for the SAT test, all right? Before you get into your waivers, what we do before that is have you to take the ACT, in which we do provide you with the waiver. Now, if you get a waiver from, like, you only allow 2 waivers per test, right? So let's say, for example, if you get a waiver from school, you can't use a waiver. You can't use 2 waivers from school and then try to get 2 waivers from us. The system is only going to allow you to enter 2 waivers. Okay? They don't care where you got it from. They're only going to allow you to enter 2 waivers in per test. So with the SAT, you still got 2 waivers available because that SAT that you took at school, Hillsborough kind of paid for it. So that then kind of gets your waivers. For the ACT, we'll give you a waiver to take the test. Now, once you take the SAT and the ACT, which is not going to hurt you, you could decide then which one you want to do. Do you want to do the SAT or the ACT? Depending on how you answer questions, like you strategize, you may do better on one test versus the other. So I always tell my students that depending on which one you do better in, that's the one you probably want to pursue and keep taking over and over until you get the score you want to achieve. For me, back then, SAT, I scored high in. I scored super high with the SAT. That's because I had a lot of, prep for the SAT. Now for the ACT, I didn't do so good, but because of my SAT scores, I was able to get into my colleges. Now, this is just the average of what they look for, but I can tell you with SAT, depending on what school it is, they do look at the sub test as well. So you have like different when you get your SAT results, it'll have like different scores for like reading, writing, and different things like that, right? So some schools actually look at that breakdown, like USF, for example. They look at that breakdown. So they look at these two scores of the math and reading, but they also look at the breakdown, making sure that on an average, they're looking for like similar to SAT, but they're looking for even higher. So it's almost like a 24 or 25 in some of those areas that they're looking for when it comes to the SAT. Now, this is not for every school. Majority of the schools just look for the math and reading. The more times you take this test, they do. A lot of schools do what you call a super score. So, super score is when they take the highest. Let's say you took the exam to the SAT 3 times. They're going to take the highest math of all 3 tests. They're going to take the highest reading of all 3 tests and combine them for your score to see if you qualify for their school. So let's say, for instance, the first time on math, the first time you got a 400, the second time you got a 570, the third time you got a 410, right? They're gonna take the 570 and then read it in the same way, and so then that will be your score. So with ACT, they do look at every area. Back when I was at school, they just looked at the main score, the composite score. Now they look at the composite score and they look at the breakdown of each area. So once again, it's very important. Make sure you're not just going in and taking those tests. Make sure you're actually studying before you go and take the test. I cannot express it enough, because when you start having to pay for the test, that test could average out to be like 70 some dollars per time each time you take it. So make sure you study before you go and take that test. Now, this is a one that it kind of emerged a little bit in the last 2 years. Now you also have the PERT, which people are kind of shying away from. So the PERT is PERT. So the PERT test, if you have taken the ACT and the SAT multiple times, right? And let's say that a school is like waiting on you to get higher scores to determine a decision. So let's say it is January, right? And let's say they just told you after the deadline for the SAT test or the ACT, and the next one is not until April. What you could do then is call the university and say, hey, I was notified on this date that I need to, up my scores, but the ACT or the SAT test has already, been, I passed the deadline. Can I take either the PERT test or the CLT in order to, for that to, suffice for my scores? And they will probably say yes. Now, the CLT and the PERT are supposed to be easier tests than the SAT and the ACT test. So that's why a lot of colleges don't want you to take that at first. They want you to take the SAT or the ACT first. And then after so many tries, then, if you call and ask them, hey, can I take this in a place of that? Then they'll, kind of reason with you and say, okay, yeah, you can. Now, there's 2 ways that you could take. Now, with the PERT, you will probably need to go to Hillsborough College to take it in their testing site, which you could, schedule an appointment to go and take it. You don't have to be a student there to go and take the test there. Now, with the CLT, it works 2 ways. Now, the PERT, you could go and take like pretty much at any time. With the CLT, so it has certain days that they offer that you could do it at your house. Now, if you do it at home, then you have to have a camera, and they will have a proctor, almost like how I am now. They will have a proctor on there to make sure that you're not cheating on your test. The other one is you'll come into a place. It could be Hillsborough College, or it could be somewhere else that you'll come in and take the actual test for the CLT. With the CLT, as you can see, these are the scores that you would need, but the college or university will let you know what they're looking for. It may be one area that they're looking for you to score high in. They probably, not, caring about the math part. They probably just want to see the reading part, or vice versa. So they'll let you know what score you need to get. All right. Now we're going into the different types of programs you could get involved in once you have graduated high school. So parents, I always have my students to apply for summer. So all the applications they're going to do is going to say summer. So they graduate next year, 2027. So most of them, well, all of them are going to be applying to summer 2027. Now, how does that work? If they get accepted in the summertime, then they will start around summer B. Summer B. Summer B is pretty much the same time as like how we start Upward Bound. It's 6 weeks. Is the second portion of their summer program. I mean, there's some program because they have a summer A, they have a summer B towards the end of the summer, and then they have a summer C, which is the whole summer, right? And so they understand that your child is still in school. So that's why they start these type of programs in summer B. Now, the reason why I have them apply for summer is because their credentials to get into these universities and colleges is lower for the summer admissions versus the fall admissions. Now, if a school feels like, hey, you got the credentials necessary for the fall, they will admit you for fall, right? So even if you apply for summer, if your credentials are high, they will push you to fall. However, it doesn't work reverse way. So let's say, for instance, if you applied to fall, and let's say you could have qualified for summer, summer admissions in the summer, but you applied for fall. They're not going to reverse it back and say, okay, we're going to meet you in the summer. What they'll do is tell you you haven't been accepted. You will have to do an appeal. Then you will have to apply for summer, which takes, time. It takes time. So I rather for you all to apply for summer, allow them to push you into the fall if you qualify. But if you don't qualify for the fall and they feel you qualify for the summer, then you would get accepted in the summer. Now, with these colleges in the summer, some of them have different programs that they have for the students when they start in the summer. And some of them just don't have any programs. They just got them started in the summer, taking 3 courses. Typically, if they start in the summer, they'll take 3 courses. They would need to make sure they get a 2.0. And I know it sounds easy, like, oh, 2.0, I could do that in my sleep. Not in college. It's a whole different ball game. In college, I tell students C's are almost like D's in college. You want to try to get A's and B's and less of C's. So if you have 3 courses that you have to do for the summer, chances are you need to make sure you get A's and B's. Now, how the summer works is that, let's say if that institution has a summer program that they have you admitted to, like our summer bridge program, FSU has care program, our student support services here has a summer bridge program. So let's say they admit you, and let's say that you get the 3 courses, but you don't do nothing with it. You just, you didn't make it, you didn't make the 2.0, you made a 1.9. Then what will happen is you will not be able to return back to the school for a year. So pretty much you will be booted out for a year because you didn't pass your courses. Now, once you after the summer and you get your above your 2.0, after that you entered into the fall, you're ready to go. No problems. You just got to make sure you stay above the 2.0, because if you don't stay above the 2.0, you could get on academic probation. And the same thing will happen. If you're not off in the semester, then they will remove you and you got to wait a whole nother year to, reapply to that school. So once again, if you do start in summer and you got those 3 courses, make sure you get A's and B's. All right. Now, some people may feel that they want to start out at a community college first, and that is totally fine if that student wants to do it. Parents, please don't try to force on your child to do a community college because it's cheaper. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this with love. All right. Regardless if they went to a community college or a 4-year college, by your child being a first gen low income student, they're not going to be able to pay for a community college as well. There are so many benefits out there for students. They're like, even if they decide to go out of state, they got border state waivers, which if the kid completes that, then they could be, counted towards as an in-state student. They also have different grants that, the students, which is free money that the students may qualify for, that may pay for all of that. Or they may have an institutional scholarship, whereas in the institution gives it to them based on their grades or their test scores from high school. So once again, don't knock a student if they want to start off at a 4-year, college. Now, if it don't make sense and it costs too much, of course, I'm going to say something to you and the student, say, hey, this, although I want them to go to this school, we may need to look at, some options, because this may be out of, range as far as finances and different stuff like that. So I will communicate with that. But most of the time that these students are making these final decisions is based on, we done looked at everything. We done looked at the awards letter. We done looked at, everything possible to make sure that when that student does go there, they don't have to worry about their second year of maxing out all their loans because they couldn't afford it. So 2+2 program. Now, we do have some students, and I definitely support my students in any decision that they make. But well, as long as it's the right decision, but some students want to go to college, community college first, and that is fine. So what they do is, some of them do what we call the 2+2 program, and we have had students to do that as well. And what they do is they will go to, but they have to make sure that that community college is partnered with that 4-year college. So not every 2-year college has a partnership with a 4-year college. Not every community college has a 2+2 program. All right. So a 2+2 program links a community college with the 4-year. It's almost like a partnership that they agreed upon, that, hey, if we make sure that these students take these courses, they don't have to apply, they automatically be accepted to your school. USF has what they call a FUSE program. With the FUSE program, they're in partnership with Hillsborough College. And pretty much the students, when they do their application, they put their intent on being a part of the FUSE. They will have additional courses outside of their major that they may have to take, and they have to keep a certain GPA. Once they have completed their associate's degree, then they move right on over to USF, and they continue with their, with their degree and getting a bachelor's degree. And so that's what this 2+2 program is. Now, Tallahassee State College has the same 2+2 partnership with Florida State University and also Florida A&M University. So just to name a few, and I think Miami-Dade College has it with Florida International University. So once again, the universities, if they do have a 2+2 program, they will have it on their admissions website to let you know if they have it. And it's only for the people that's considering, they want a smaller setting first before they go out to a 4-year. The Summer Bridge program and the Student Support Services program. So these are like two different things. It can be. So Student Support Services is the college program for like Upward Bound students. So it's our sister program. So it's similar to Upward Bound, but it helps the first generation lower income students on the collegiate level. Now, not all student support services have summer bridge programs. So that's why you see summer bridge programs and student support services, because not all of them, once again, all of them may not have a unique name for it. So let me say this. Let me compare. I always compare FSU and USF with this. So at USF, we do have more than one summer bridge program. Like USF has regular summer that you just come, and then student support services have their program in the summer, their bridge program. Now, with student support services bridge program, if it's one at the school that you plan on going to, how they work is that not only do you will start in the summer, but they will pretty much be there for you your entire 4 years. So they'll be, providing you with advising, counseling. If you need to go into their office, the print stuff, because printing does cost in college. It's not free, students. You got to pay like 10 cents a page and all that stuff. So it does cost, but they can provide that support. But they'll be there, to help you pick your classes each year. They'll also have different workshops, different things that you can participate in. So once again, that's how student support services with a bridge program works. Now, sometimes you may have it like how FSU have it, and your student support services is separate from your summer bridge program. So what it means is that you got accepted. So with FSU, if you get accepted to their summer bridge program, it's called CARE. And so they have a team that works with that. Most of the time, is people from like student support services that's helping. But this does not mean that you're in student support services. You're just in the care program. And once that program is over, then pretty much that's it for you. They do have different things that you could come in and utilize, like the computer lab and different stuff like that. But you don't have like the advisor. So what they encourage you to do is apply for one of the student support services programs so that you could continue to get that support. So they have different ones that you could choose from. They even have a STEM one. And so once again, you went through the summer bridge program through care, but you also now part of student support services because you applied for it. And then they're going to provide you with the same thing, the advising, telling you, hey, you might not need to take this. Hey, you need this to graduate, because I'm telling you all now, just like how you got guidance counselors and you have myself and Ms. Blossing and different people around you telling you what to do. Hey, you need to register for this course. You're not gonna have that in college unless you go and ask for it. You're not gonna have nobody in your ear now unless you're a part of student support services, because they're gonna hound you down about things you need to do. But if you're not a part of student support services and you're just in college, you're gonna have to like organize yourself, because there's not gonna be nobody there to tell you, hey, it's time to get up, it's time to go to class, it's time to do this. You're gonna have to do that yourself. All right. Now, the college application process. The college application process can be lengthy, and I take my time, parents, when I go through the college application process. I also don't. No student is allowed to submit a college application until I have read it. I have gave them the approval to submit it. The reason why is not that I'm trying to be like protective or trying to. Well, I am trying to be protective. I am, because the main thing is that I don't want them to put the wrong thing on their application and then it messes up them or you. So let's say, for instance, the tax thing is the biggest thing. We have it where, as in, let's say a student say, okay, my parents married. I'm going to put both of them on my application, right? And they're not thinking of the FAFSA because we're not working on the FAFSA at this time. They just thinking of the college application probably at that moment. So they probably thinking, okay, I'm put both of my parents because both of my parents, stay. The kids not knowing that the parents, although they're married, they file differently. So it may be where the parents file separate, even though they're together. And students, that's not to say your parents are going to separate. No, no, no. Sometimes the reason why they do that, because economically it just makes more sense. And so with that being said, parents, if it's where a student, if it's a situation where, as in, the mother claims the student and the daddy doesn't, then only the mom would need to be on the application. The reason why is because if you put both of your parents on the application, they're going to read it as the parents are together. And what's most importantly probably going to happen is when we get ready to do the FAFSA and we only do mom, they're going to ask about where's dad's information. And they even probably, which they have tried to do it before, because the student jumped the gun and didn't wait on me to tell them what to do. But they even wanted the parents to do an amendment. If the parents would have did amendment to their taxes, they would have owed back so much. So we had to, come with plan B to do, to get that student on track. But the student won't be in a situation if they just would have followed instructions, which is do not submit any college applications until I have seen it. Now, with the college application process, parents, the students can apply to as many different colleges as they would like. What happens is that after they apply for the college and I approved it and they submit it, then I send off a waiver that they sign. I sent off a waiver along with their official transcripts and a letter stating that they're part of Upward Bound or Upward Bound Math and Science. In order for them to like be noted as an Upward Bound or Upward Bound Math and Science student, they need a letter from us. So that's why I sent off the letter, the waiver. The waiver pays for the application, and then the transcript so that it can process to see if the student, qualifies for their class. So some of the things we're going to be looking at is like how rigorous is your coursework. So honors classes do not count. They look at AP courses, dual enrollment courses, ACE courses. So ACE, AP, IB, dual enrollment. Those are what they consider rigorous coursework. I always tell students to do your rigorous coursework in areas that you know. They're not going to look at you differently if you did all of yours in science because that's your strong suit. So you should do your rigorous courses in, science. But let's say if you are not a science person and you're more of a math person, well, all your rigor courses should be in math. You should have none in science if you're not good in it because chances are you'll fail. Even if you get a D or F, they're gonna look at it from their perspective like this person will be struggling at my college and I really don't want them here because they're not gonna help with our graduation rates. And so chances are they'll look at how many rigorous coursework you take in order to decide if you're gonna go to their school. So we try to at least have you taking like 4. I can't tell you it has got super competitive after this year, but at least if you got 4, it don't matter when you took it. At least if you got 4 of those courses, or even if you're working on it, that'll be perfect. But you got to take some rigorous courses. So if you have never taken any AP, ACE, IB, dual enrollment, or anything like that, I suggest that you sign up for it. Okay, it's very important that you sign up for it. We already talked about the ACT, SAT. We talked about the waivers. Extracurricular activities, you'll write down for that. Essay, personal statements, we'll work on that because there's a different way that you have to do your personal statements versus how you write essays in school. These colleges that ask for essays and personal statements want to hear from you, want to know about you. They don't want to know about your achievements because they know that from the application. They don't want to know about your GPA because they know that already. When they ask these questions, they want to get to know about the student. So sometimes you have to open up to a place that you probably don't want to visit, but that's what they want to hear. And sometimes that is the deciding factor whether you get into their college or not, based on your essay, right? Letters of recommendation. You need to be working on your letters of recommendation now. Okay. We are going to go over the things that you need for the summer, but I can tell you letters of recommendation is definitely something that you're going to need. So I will start working on that now. Make sure they put it on the letterhead. If you're getting it from a teacher, please make sure that they're putting your grade in the classroom, and they also got to tell your behavior in the classroom. Colleges and universities are no longer accepting those simple letters stating that, hey, I'm just gonna use Margaret because I know she'll be okay with it. But Margaret, did good in class. She's a good student. Like they don't want to hear that. They want to hear that Margaret has a 99.9% in your class, that she turns in all her homework, that she does things, fast and quick, and like they want to know details. So make sure you do that. Also, you can get your guidance counselor if you can, or your principal, assistant principals. If you work, you can get your job to do one for you, but they got to talk about your work ethics, like what you do, what's your job performance. Make sure they put a letterhead on there. Do not put a date on there because if you put a date, because you're going to be utilizing this personal utilizing your recommendation letters for like scholarships and different things like that, you don't want to put a date on it. All right. So make sure they don't put a date on it, but they need to have a letterhead and it needs to be signed. All right. Now a family member cannot write one for you. So if you babysit, that's not gonna work. Okay. Now, types of financial aid. So this is the terminology, and once again, we will have more like meetings and different stuff set so parents you can understand, this information more. But I like to break it down so that you will understand, like as we're moving through the process, like even before we start the process, I want you to know what this terminology is. So with grants is free money. All right, that's money that they do not have to pay back. All right, everybody has to do so all of these types of financial aid is based on us doing a FAFSA. And so let me go to this first and then I come back. Okay. So the FAFSA is pretty much a document. It's an electronic document that you have to fill out in order for your child to get any financial assistance from the federal government or from the institution. And when I mean from the institution, like in order for the institution to offer you any grants, any scholarships or anything like that, they have to have that FAFSA in. What the FAFSA does is tell them your needs based on your needs. So let's say for instance, because I had this with my students because they was comparing like, oh, I should have got more because she got more. No, that's not how it works. It's a lot of different things come into play because they're not, the federal government is not giving money for college like they used to anymore. I'm just being honest with you. Depending on how much the parent makes. So they're being very stingy when it comes to giving money and the family, size. So let's say if you're a parent and you make $60,000 and let's say you got one kid, your child may not get a lot back versus a parent that makes 60,000 and have four kids and is the only one that's taking care of that kid. I mean, those kids. So once again, it may be different. So when you first do the FAFSA, when we first do it, it's gonna be this summer, and we're gonna do the one that with the FAFSAs, they kind of count for like summer, fall, and spring. That's how they operate. So the FAFSA that we'll do this summer will count for next summer. So it will count for 2027 summer. So just in case some of the students get accepted to summer B in the colleges, their FAFSA will already be completed. Now, October 1 is when FAFSA is released. FAFSAs are released every year around a certain time. Last year, when they were trying to like get this new one up in way, it was like it was taking a longer time. But now we're back to October 1. So October the 1st, I'm sorry, we will be doing the second FAFSA. The second FAFSA will cover fall 2027, spring 2028, and summer 2028. So therefore, they won't have to do a FAFSA for another year. Even if you need help with the FAFSA after completed your year, you can call me back. I have students all the time that reach out and say, "Hey, can you do my FAFSA?" And I have no problem with it. So once the FAFSA is done, automatically it'll let you know like how much the federal government will give you for Pell Grant. So it may say $6,000, right? Now, based on that information and based on the colleges that the students put into the FAFSA, because they have to list out all the colleges that they're thinking about attending. What FAFSA do is send that information to each of the colleges that student has put on there. Based on that, if the student is admitted to that college, then let's just say if it's Florida A&M University, once FAFSA send that to Florida A&M is going to look at not only the FAFSA, but that student need, or does that student have a certain GPA? What did they score on the test? And sometimes what they do is they offer grants based on that. So they may have a first generation grant that the student may get $1,000 every semester. That'll be on the award letter. So all of this is generating an award letter, right? So you got the federal government, they give you 6,000. Okay, then FAMU came and said, okay, we're gonna give you first generation grant. We're gonna give you they probably got all types of grants. I'd be surprised on the type of grants that they have at USF. They had a grant for like anybody who lived in Miami, right? So once again, they have different grants for different things. And so scholarships, also institutional scholarships, they may offer as well. I see Dr. Cabrera let him speak real quick and then I get back into it, but we almost to the end.
Hey, everybody. Just want to jump on real quick. I'm teaching a class tonight, so working on that side, but wanted to come here and excited for each and every one of you. For those that were here this past Saturday and saw our college decision day and all the amazing opportunities that have opened up for our seniors, this will be you at this time next year. And so the work starts. I mean, you've already started the work these past 3 years, but now it really starts to ramp up with being in the know and understanding what this process is going to be, being active in the summer. I can't stress that enough. I know we all want to break. I know we all want to go here. We want to go there. But the work that you do this summer is going to set the stage for what's going to happen in the fall. and make your life a lot less stressful by putting in the work and really balancing it out. I really would look at it now from today all the way through next April. Everything that you do will lead you to where you're going to go, what kind of money you're going to get, and what makes the most sense for you. So do your part. We're going to do ours. To our families and to our parents, know that we're here. If you have any questions, please reach out. We are a resource, but we will walk hand in hand with our students to get them through this process. But it's tough when you're managing class. Some of you are working. You have all the senior level responsibilities of going to homecoming and prom and grad bash and all the great things that happen when you get to your final year. And we want you to enjoy all of that. But the way you make it a little less stressful is just by doing your part little by little. We're going to do our part. We're going to guide you, but just stay on task. Don't fall behind, because then it becomes rushed and it's a rush decision at the end. And we want you to be comfortable with what's coming next. So that was it. Just wanted to say hello. Excited for you all, and I'll see you all soon.
Thank you, Dr. Cabrera, for coming in with that message. So please make sure that's the main thing, that you got to make sure that you're here for the summer. I cannot stress it enough that we don't reteach what we teach in the summer because it's so much information. So, it's best if you can be here for the process. If you have it where you have different camps or like cheerleading, basketball, football, or anything like that, please let us know so that we can work something out, because that's how like important it is for you all to be here. All right. So getting back to scholarships. So the universities and the colleges can offer you a institutional scholarship. Institutional scholarships is not something that you will apply for. It's based on your academics. So it may be based on you being, you having a 3.5 GPA, or it may be where your test scores are something that you was involved in, whether it could be like you was part of the band or different things like that, and you want to do the band at FAMU, so that scholarship will be on there if they're offering you one. So once again, you will have that information on your award letter. Also, you will have work study. Now, everybody's not going to have work study on their award letter. Remember, the award letter is generated after the FAFSA is sent to the university, and then the university is looking at all this stuff that's right here, the types of financial aid that they could pretty much offer you before they send you out what we call the award letter. All right, and so with work study, it's a case by case, it's a need based. And pretty much, if you are given work study, you will have to go and find a job on campus. And how cool is it is that you get to work, like let's say you got to work 20 hours, but they work around your college schedule. So let's say if you got to go in and work at 8 o'clock, but you got a 9:30 class, you could go to work, leave at 9:15 to go to class, and then come back afterwards. Or let's say if they don't have any work for you to do at that time, you could pull out your schoolwork and do your schoolwork, or take any exams or different things like that while you're at work. So that's the benefit of work study. Now, loans, parents do not shy away from loans. All loans are not bad, and some loans are needed. Now, the federal government is going to offer you subsidized and unsubsidized loans. The difference is the percentage, the interest rate on it. But the thing is that with those subsidized and unsubsidized loans, the students don't have to pay that back until they're done with school. So even if they decide to go for their master's or their doctoral degree, those loans will be in deferment until they're finished with school. Even when they're finished with school, I always tell the students that, you have that opportunity with your loan person to ask for you can do income driven. It's so many different ways that you can pay back. So income driven is one. And I told the students, I said, my seniors now, I told them pretty much that, hey, once I did the income repayment tool thing, I qualified for $0 a month. So while I ain't have to pay none per month, it was kind of as a payment towards my loans. And pretty much after 10 years, because based on my job that I have, after 10 years it's forgiven. So I pretty much got my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, all, pretty much paid for with zero down. And then when former President Biden came and did that, that wiped out all of that. So, only thing I have is my doctorate, fees, which is, way better than having all those, other fees. So once again, depending on what job you have, depending on what career, they may pay for all of it, or you may qualify for zero, but they're gonna base it off of how much you're making at that time. So once again, do not get scared of it. Now, I will tell you, stay away from private loans and stay away from bank loans. Private loans and bank loans are different. You don't have until the end of, like, you don't have until the student graduates to pay back. You literally probably will have to pay back in a year or 2 years, whatever the agreement is. That's when you have to pay back, and they're not in the business of, okay, I can't pay this, can you make it lower. They're not going to negotiate with you as if you was getting a loan from the federal government. They're not going to negotiate with you too much. So stay away from the bank and private ones, but the subsidized and unsubsidized, if you need it, definitely go for it. All right. So we talked about the FAFSA and the different stuff. And then also, parents, make sure you let your child know how you file. If you file married but separate, I mean, yeah, separated, then that's fine. If you file single or whatever, just make sure that your student is aware of how you file your taxes, so that when we get ready to do the FAFSA, that's some of the information that they do ask. So we want to make sure that we have everything on point. And parents, if you have went to college at any point, please make sure you have your FSA ID. If you do not know what it is, just go on Google, go to create a FSA ID, and then you can manage your ID from there. Even if it's been years ago, you'll be able to go in there, do forget password, and get your information, because your student is going to need that FSA ID information when we get ready to do the FAFSA. I will be creating, don't worry about doing the student's FSA ID. We'll create that together. For the parents who don't have an FSA ID, don't worry, we will create one for you once we start in the summer. And what the FSA ID is pretty much a electronic signature that parent and student have to have in order to sign the FAFSA, in order for it to be submitted. Okay, so once again, I'm going to walk you through this whole process. Bright Future Scholarship, I'm not going to talk too much about this because this will be in the arena of your guidance counselor. So in it, if you're trying to achieve one of these scholarships for Bright Future, you need to check in with your guidance counselor to ensure that you have the qualifications needed to do those different things, and also make sure they have it logged in. Like your community service, you should be logging it in with your guidance counselor. You can't do that by yourself. If your guidance counselor don't have this stuff logged in for you, then chances are you're not going to be eligible for that Bright Future Scholarship. They have to do applications and they have to submit this stuff for you. So even if you continue to work on a community service, that's fine. Just go to them now and say, hey, I'm interested in the Florida Academic Scholarship. What else do I need to do? And then they'll be able to tell you. So once again, work with your guidance counselors on the Florida Bright Future Scholarship. Timeline. Take a picture of this. Also, this email will go out to everyone as well, so you can have a visual of the different things. But this is like a screenshot of like the fall semester. So with the summer, I'm going to talk about what we're going to do for the summer next. But this is the timeline of how your senior year is going to look. In August, we'll have the senior orientation like we have for Upward Bound and Upward Bound Math and Science, and then we'll have the crash course. Pretty much a refresher, just like this, to remind you of, hey, what we're going to be doing for this upcoming year. September will be college application month and on scholarship. So after you finish your college applications, then you work on scholarships, but we work on college applications for the whole month of September. I even do late nights here, on selected days, which I will let you know their schedule. So parents, they could come out, let's say if they got cheerleading practice, they got basketball practice, football, acting practice, whatever it may be. Usually I'll be here from like 4:30 until like 10:30 at night. so that they could drop in so they could do their college applications night. And then October to December, we'll be working on your FAFSA. We'll be working on more scholarships, checking the status of your college applications. Because sometimes people do rolling admissions. Sometimes you'll know if you got into a college the next month. Some people have a certain date, so we'll do that. We'll complete any additional testing that you need to do at that time. So sign you up for ACT, SAT to take that test if you need it, if your scores are low. Through January and April, we'll look at financial aid award letters. I can tell you they come at different times. Some of my students still ain't got their award letters from their schools, but that will come during that time. Making your college decision, paying your enrollment and deposits and different things like that, paying housing. Now, with Upward Bound and Upward Bound Math Science, we will help you through this process. We will also pay for your college application, but we can't pay for your housing deposit and your meal or your enrollment deposit. Now, what we can do, I always tell parents that if they run into an issue and they can't pay for it, ask them, is there any way that they can have, some type of leniency because they're a first-year student and they are part of Upward Bound. And, if I needed to provide a letter, which I have done in the past, I'll provide a letter to them so they can provide and let them know, hey, I am a part of Upward Bound. And sometimes they'll waive the whole fee. Sometimes they'll reduce it for you to pay. Also, we'll make sure your college orientation is scheduled. And then in May, we have your senior banquet. We definitely come to all the graduations. And then we'll make sure that we send your final transcript. What some seniors get tripped off on, and that's what's happening this year. And they're tripping because they was like, okay, I thought you already sent my transcript, but they say that I got to send another one. And what it is that, yes, you have to send a transcript when you first apply for it, but they still want a final transcript. So they'll want it until after the 4th 9 weeks, but they want a final transcript to make sure that you have stayed on track. Because they say, for instance, you got into their college and you had a 3.5, but you've been playing and now you had a 3.2 or 3.0. Well, they just say a 2.5. They have the right to say, hey, we don't want you at our school no more because your grades have dropped. Or, you may be fine and they just make sure, hey, we're just making sure she on track or he on track. So, once again, all colleges and universities ask for a final transcript. And, like I told my students, like my seniors now, that either I could send it or they could send it. So, it's up to them how they send it, but they cannot send it before they get their final 4th 9 week grades. All right, summer program. So with the summer, I know all of you all been waiting for it, anticipating it. Oh my goodness, what to expect. Just like Dr. Cabrera stated, we did have our decision day on this past Saturday, and it's always the greatest time for us because we get to celebrate the students and what college they went to, and they get to share their stories. And the main thing that they shared was that they didn't give up. A lot of them didn't get into either their first school or a school that they was hoping that, they had it as an option. But they got into the school that, after a while, like it felt right. It felt like they should have been there. So in the summer, I pretty much help you to get to know what you want, what the student want. Not what the parents want or anything, but what the student wants. Do the student want somewhere hot? Do they want somewhere cold? Do they want to be far away from their parents? Do they want to stay in Florida? Whatever that student wants to do, this is what we dive into in the summertime. So we narrow down college and university choices. We research majors and careers because I always tell them to pick a major or career that they're going to love, not something that they got to be like, oh, I got to go to work again. Golly. Like, ugh. So I tell them to find something that they're going to be excited about. We're going to do scholarship searches. We can't apply for the scholarships right now because most of them have to wait until the kid enter into their senior year. So that's why we call them rising seniors in the summer, because they're not officially a senior until August when they go back to school. That's how colleges and universities are looking at it. But for us, they're seniors. We're going to complete the FAFSA that I told you all about. They're going to create and update a high school resume, not a work resume, a high school resume. Recommendation letters, work on that now. And then they'll work on essays and, we said the FAFSA. Now, this is the thing that we need. All right. If the student doesn't have this on the first day, well, let me go back. The dates of the program are June the 8th through July the 17th. Now, that first week, we may be virtual. So items probably won't be due on June the 8th because we probably be virtual. We haven't decided yet, but 9 times out of 10, we probably will. Now, with that being said, that means that that means the first date that will be in person will be Monday, June the 15th. So what that would mean is that all the documents that I'm about to show you on the next slide will be due on June the 15th. What this means, parents, is that if they don't have my items, they are not allowed to come into my class. I don't want excuses that they left stuff. We are now April the 22nd. I'm letting you know way in advance that they need this for June the 15th. Okay? June the 15th, if they don't have my documents, I'm gonna remind them all that week. I don't want to hear the teacher is not out there. We all know when the teachers take summer break, they don't want to be contacted, and I get it. Get your recommendation letters before that. Also, too, with transcripts. Official transcripts, I don't want it to the end, which let me go on over to the next one. So, this is what I need on the 15th. I need a copy of the parent's driver license. Now, mind you, this is only the parent or guardian that claims the kid on their test. Like they claim the kid, okay? So if it's both parents, I need a copy of both. If it's just one parent, I only need a copy of that one. I need a copy of the front and back because this is what, when we go to all this stuff that I'm asking you all, when we get ready to do applications, this is the stuff that they ask for when it comes to verifying Florida residency or different things like this. Instead of calling you all, bother you all while you at work, what I do is I take their information and all of them have a folder. So let me show you kind of, if you can see. Oh, it's heavy. I'm gonna see if you can see. So I make them a folder somewhat like this. And each of them have their names in it and they have all their stuff in it. The only time this leave my office, if I'm going over to a class for my seniors, this stays in the office locked in because of the information that it has in there. So once again, I only move this to go to the senior class so that they could get information so they could do stuff, but that's it. Other than that, it stays in here. So I need a copy of the parents' driver license front and back. If the student has an ID or a driver license, I need a front and back copy of that as well. Voter registration. If you can't find your voter registration card, please go on HillsboroVoters.com. I think it's voters.com. I just go to Google and Hillsborough County voter. And pretty much once you put in your name, your birthday, your registration stuff will come up. Just print that sheet and I could utilize that sheet. Also, we need your vehicle registration. Now, let's say parents, if you do not have a vehicle, then what I would need is 12 months of either a light bill or some type of bill that's showing your address for a year. But that's only if you cannot provide a vehicle registration. So it would need to be for an entire year. So by that being June, you would need it, let's just say, from May 2026 back to May 2025. All right. So that's how we would need that. Students, you need 3 letters of recommendation letters. If you could get more than 3, that would be great. If you're involved in like a sport or anything else, you could get a coach to do a recommendation letter for you as well. You would need 2 copies of your permanent record worksheet. You could get this from your guidance. If the guidance counselor don't know what you're talking about, just tell them it's a screenshot of all your grades and your tests that you have taken in school. Then they'll know what you're talking about. Parents, we do need a copy of your taxes that you just received this year. If you do not trust your child with your tax papers, because I understand, you can send it to me in email, and I will provide my email at the end so that I could get it. I'm telling you right now. I tell my students all the time, I don't play with the FBI. I don't play with the alphabet people. FBI, IRS, cops, anything like that, I do not play with. Meaning that once you send me your tax information, I will put it in a file And then after that, I would delete that email. All right. I'm not your information will not be utilized anywhere. It will be safe here. All right. I don't like jail. I like to get up when I want to. So nobody will not be invading your taxes. Also, students, come with your college choices, like written on a sheet of paper, so that we could talk about it. We could look at it. We could see if those are possible good choices for you based on the things that you will learn about yourself this summer. And then also 3 official transcripts, but those official transcripts should not be presented to me on June the 15th. Okay. That's the only thing you should not have on June the 15th. Do not turn this in until the last day, well, the day before the last day of the program. So July the 16th is when I need your official transcripts. Now, if you're applying to more schools, if you're applying to 10, 12 schools, then I need 10, 12 official transcripts. If you only applying to 5, then I need those. There is somebody at the school, at every school in the summer, that will do your transcripts for you. Okay. Now with Tampa Bay Tech, and somebody could remind me at the beginning of the summer, I all they asked me to do is just send a list of all their students and how many they need, and they'll have it so I can pick it up. So at Tampa Bay Tech, yours is a little different. You just give me your names, how many you need, and then I'll pick yours up. However, for the other schools, you have to, go out there in the summer and request it and let them know it's for Upward Bound and Upward Bound Math and Science. If you say it's for our program, they'll make sure they give it to you right then. If not, they're gonna make you go online to request it. And this summer, please have a great attitude. We know it's going to be a lot of work. You're going into your senior year. It's not going to be a easy summer like you had in the past. So I definitely need a great attitude. My attitude depends on yours. All right. So yes, I'm wanting to get this work done, and I'm all about work, then play. But once again, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, I have no issue, parents, with telling them, hey, we got to get back on track. We got to focus. All right. So last but not least, meeting with your guidance counselor. Make sure you meet with your guidance counselor ASAP to talk about those things that we talked about. So at least if you don't meet with them, they probably busy with senior class right now. So they probably don't have time. But if they do have time, try to meet with them now. And also you're going to meet with them again when school start. So just to make sure, just to confirm, and then also guidance counselors change too. So you want to make sure that, hey, we're on the same track. Hey, did I pass all my tests and exams? EOC, FSA. How many credits I need to graduate? What classes am I missing? Do I need to retake any classes? These are the questions that you need to be asking your guidance counselor now and in August. All right. Last but not least, this is my contact information. Let me say this for you all again. This is for you all, but this doesn't mean that you abuse it. So do not call me after 6 o'clock during the weekday. Do not call me before 8 a.m. during the weekdays. On the weekends that we do not meet, and if it's not an extreme emergency, and I'm not talking about what shirt should I put on or when I should, no. If it's not an extreme emergency and we're not working that weekend, please don't call. We have a life just like you, and we love our peace. And so once again, just be respectful of the time when you talk to me. And this information is only for you all. So it has my office number, the first number, the second number is my cell. So chances are, if I don't answer, text me, because I'm always in the field sometimes, going to different places. Also serving as Florida Trio president. So sometimes I'm away from my computer a lot. So once again, just, text me, email me, or call me. Either way. All right. At this time, I'm gonna stop sharing. Ms. Blasi will be sending out the PowerPoint, but I'm trying to see. Okay. There it is. Okay. So at this time, I entertain any questions that you all may have. So raise your hand. Let me see. Can I look at the participant? Okay, raise your hand, or you could come off mute to ask your questions if you have any. And Ms. Blostein will be sending this out. Okay.
Hello.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi. If we go to Tampa Bay Technical High School, when would we have to tell you how many transcript we need?
So by July 1st. So by July 1, I would get one of you all from Tampa Bay Tech to compile me a list of everybody that goes to Tampa Bay Tech. So just remind me in class on July the 1st so that I can email that to Tampa Bay Tech so I'll be able to go and pick it up.
Okay, thank you.
But only the transcripts I'm doing that for. The rest of the stuff, like the permanent record worksheet, you'll have to get that on your own.
Okay.
All right. All right. Anyone else?
Hey,
Hi,
Dr.
I was
Karen.
wondering.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry.
No, you're okay. Go ahead.
My parents don't vote per se, so what would I substitute that with?
Okay, so if they don't vote, it's the same thing. So if they have like an electric bill, or apartment lease, or a mortgage document, either of those three documents, that could place that voter registration. Because most of the time they ask for like three proofs, and then you got your driver license, you got your vehicle, and then you need one more. So either 12 months of a light bill, mortgage, or apartment lease.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. All right, Miss White.
Hi, Dr. Curry. Yes, I want to say thank you again. I appreciate you taking your time this evening. But I also wanted to ask, because I heard you mention about, which I love, you guys take time to find out what the child want to do versus what the parents want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So the question that I have, do you guys have like separate sponsors or directors that work with, because just for instance, some of the students that's collegiate students.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're going in with like a little boost. Do you guys like, is it separate or you
So
guys
no,
all
So
okay.
the thing is, when I get to know, because I'm gonna tell you this. The thing is that it's up. Every student ain't gonna do collegiate because they're not ready to do dual enrollment courses. Which I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not a dual enrollment fan for many reasons. But we kind of get to know them like they don't have pretty much they're not at a disadvantage because they're not in collegiate academy. What we do is in the summer we try to get to know the students based on what they like, and pretty much they have the same playing field as somebody in the collegiate academy, but we look at different resources too that school may offer, that the student may help. It may help the student be successful. So the main thing once again is that no, they're not treated differently. They pretty much sometimes they may have the same career path, sometimes they may have different. But once again, the summer is where we get to know the student and we give the student support based on what they need and also where they want to go. So I hope I answered your question, but they're not treated differently at all.
No. I didn't want to know if because like for
Yeah.
instance, my son, he is a collegiate.
Okay,
So,
perfect.
being that he is collegiate, like he's already a step in the door, but just say for instance, he's still confused or not sure exactly what he want to do. Do they have
Gotcha.
those, the same,
Yes.
the same
And we have
path that
activities
when they
for them in the
explain and
summer
that's
too. We have
okay.
activities for them in the classroom too to help them decide what they want to do. Like we do different, like in the beginning of the summer, it's pretty much trying to figure out who they are and what they
Okay.
want. And so like they have different activities to see like what the things they like, what things they don't like. And then based on that, we look at careers around those areas.
Okay.
Then we get into, do they want to stay in the cold? They want to stay in hot? How far you want to be? So we look at all of that when looking at, selecting the colleges that they prefer. So the first couple of weeks, I'll say the first 2 weeks is get to know that student and what that student wants. So
Okay.
we could know how to provide support.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem. Anyone else? These are some great questions. So please ask. Anyone else have any questions? And you all have my number. So please call me or email me any information that you may have. Understand that 11th grade year is your critical year. So you're the way you, just like Mr. Mars stated at the decision day, I don't know if everybody was there, but you want to end your 11th year on a high, meaning that a high GPA. because the grade point average that you're going to have, that you're going to finish with 11th grade year, is going to be the same GPA that you're going to be utilizing to apply for these different colleges. Because we're doing applications in September, you won't have received your first report card yet in the fall, right? And even if you get that first report card in the fall, it's not going to be, calculate your calculated GPA because it's waiting on the second 9 weeks in order to calculate your GPA for the first semester. So you need to make sure you turn in all your assignments, you're doing all your work, you're doing everything that you need to do so that you can finish with a high GPA, or at least increase your GPA from where it's at now by the end of this 11th grade year. Okay, so once again, that's why we say 11th grade is critical, because everything that you do during your 11th grade year is setting you up for your senior year. Once again, make sure that you could be here this summer. If you have any issues as far as being a part of different camps or whatever, email myself and Ms. Blostein so that we could try to figure out if we could, accommodate you going to that and being here, because that's just how important it is for you to be here. All right. Castor, Abigail, go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. Does colleges look at attendance?
No.
They don't? Okay.
Mm-mm. They
Okay.
don't.
They
They
don't.
look at them
Okay.
grades. They look at the
Just
grades.
the grades?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the only time they will pay attention, they probably will pay attention to attendance. Let's say if the kid had like failing grades, and they're like, well, why does the kid keep having failing grades? And they look at that. But other than that, no, they don't look at that at all. They look at those grades, especially in those rigorous courses. That's what they definitely look at.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. I wish you didn't say that.
Well, we're going to work on it. Like I tell every student, like, and every parent, yes, it's scary going into, this unknown territory, because with college, it changes every year. Like, for instance, this past 2 years, it changed with nursing. So I don't know how many of you students want to do nursing, but they judge you out the gate for nursing now. They don't wait until after your sophomore year and you apply for nursing school to determine if you're going to be in nursing school. What they do now is they look at you like in depth to see if, like you will be a potential candidate for nursing school once you get to your sophomore year and complete those courses. So you can't, so you know how like back then, well, parents know how back then, like you could, select, let's say criminology, but let's say sophomore year, you're gonna go and say, okay, I'm gonna apply for nursing school. So nursing, only nursing, not other school, not other degrees, but nursing is saying no. You need to determine that you want to do nursing before when you're doing this college application, so we can decide if you're going to be in our realm of things. And then from there, make sure if you are accepted at our school for, nursing, pre-nursing, well, pre-med because of nursing, but if you are accepted, then, hey, sophomore year, you still got to do the application and apply. And if you don't get in, then you change your major. But I cannot go in as a criminology now and change my major to nursing once I get into the school. They don't allow that no more. So once again, trust me, I tell you, every year I'm learning new stuff. When we go to these different conferences and we're not in the office, that's where we're going. We're going to learn different information because things are changing. We're gonna hold your child's hand through this whole process, explaining everything, walking making sure they got everything turned in, making sure that they going to a college that they're going to be happy and proud about going to. So it's one thing for me to get to know the students like in depth. Some of them I know, but I'm just saying get to know them personally in depth of what they want to do. And then from there, we're going to make sure that they're lining things up so that they can be. Like I told, my nursing students, like, some of them may now have the test scores to get into those big schools that they wanted to go to. Okay, I'm not going to tell you change your major because nursing is something you really want to do and you're passionate about it. So instead of doing that, let's change colleges that we're looking at that will accept you for nursing. And those students are still pursuing nursing. They just had to change the college that they was going to, and they happy with their decision. So that's some of the things that we do when it comes to senior counseling and boot camp for the summer. So once again, you all got my number. I am gonna be hard on them, but one thing about it, I would never call them out their names. I would never belittle them. But I will be on them because I know that I know their potential. And I get to know them so that I can know their potential and what, how to push them, or, what what is needed for them to do. But parents, once again, parents, I need us to be in this together, because going through senior year, they got to get out of this procrastination. They got to get out of these different things that they used to doing. They got to do work. They cannot be lazy about it. They got to do the work. I cannot express it enough. All right. They got to do the work. When I have the application nights here at USF in September, the late nights, they need to make sure they come. Okay. If we don't have any other questions, then I will thank you all. I kept you all long enough, but I'm just a thorough type of person, and I want you all to know the different terminology with different things. Also, we're going to have different meetings, or I may email you updates throughout the whole senior year as well, so that we could be on track with different stuff. It's myself, Miss Claudia, will be emailing you all to keep you all up with things. But once again, we will be there to hold a hand and your hand through the whole process, because I know these are your babies. And I know that, you don't want your babies to go far. But parents, support your children. Support them, support them, support them. I cannot say it enough. A lot of universities and college out of state have board of state waivers. So don't feel that if they go out of state, you can't afford it or it's too much. Some of these schools have benefits for those students. I will make sure that they have it, or I will make sure that you are aware of it. So once again, we will be in this together. Thank you all so much for the night. Have a great night. And students, I look forward to seeing you on Saturday.